Patriot, a weekly podcast broadcast live from a secret, undisclosed location deep behind enemy lines here in Denver, Colorado. But a positive spin on that, as my friend Nick says, turning red. Here we speak the truth and nothing but the truth, so help us God. And now without further ado, here is the hosts of the Hispanic Patriot, Nicholas Rasso and Hugo Chavez-Ray. Give it up for Nick and Hugo.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Nick.
Hey, how are you doing today?
It's been quite a week, huh?
It has.
We got a lot on our plate tonight, so we're gonna dive into some topics. We're going to be covering the Merrick Garland contempt by Congress today. We're going to be talking about the hypocrisy of that and how the left is now trying to say that the contempt charge is bogus, so to speak. And we got the ACLU suing the Biden administration to push back against the new executive order about asylum. The Pentagon talking to us about Russian warships in the Caribbean down in Cuba. Larry Kudlow, former financial advisor to President Trump. I think he was the treasurer, actually. He has his own show on Fox, but he wants to talk to us about how Trump and folks want traditional values. And then this is a good one. The GOP releasing a January 6th clip of Pelosi saying, "I take responsibility," as she discussed National Guard absence on January 6th. So we're going to roll right into this new story. So if you haven't been paying attention, today the GOP-run House voted to hold Attorney General Merrick Garland in contempt. The Republican-controlled House voted Wednesday to hold Attorney General Merrick Garland in contempt of Congress, a politically charged broadside against the Biden administration that comes a day after Garland's Justice Department won a conviction against Biden's son, Hunter, on felony gun charges. The vote, which passed with an initial tally of 216 to 207, marks the third time in a dozen years that a sitting attorney general was found in contempt by a majority of House members, an indicator of the rising partisanship in Washington and how that partisanship has increasingly been aimed at the nation's top law enforcement officials. Now, these aren't my words. I'm reading the story for you so you understand the context and who's writing it. But Wednesday's vote is largely symbolic, it says, in that it urges federal prosecutors to investigate and file criminal charges against the Attorney General. But that is extremely unlikely to happen given the Justice Department's past practice and legal analysis. What they're not saying is, given that the Justice Department is run by a corrupt Attorney General, he's not going to have his own attorneys file charges against him. Let's listen in on a short video with Congressman, the head, the chairman of the Judiciary Committee, talking about the contempt charge today. Go ahead and run the video. Peter?
Have all members voted? Does any member wish to change their vote?
Wrong video, Peter. Peter, we want the video with the Judiciary Committee. Jim Jordan, with Jim Jordan on there, right there.
Today it's driven by politics. Example number one is President Trump.
As Attorney General, I will continue to forcefully defend the independence of the Justice Department from improper influence or interference of any kind. These repeated attacks on the Justice Department are unprecedented and they are unfounded. These attacks have not and they will not influence our decision-making. I view contempt as a serious matter, but I will not jeopardize the ability of our prosecutors and agents to do their jobs effectively in future investigations. I will not be intimidated, and the Justice Department will not be intimidated. We will continue to do our jobs free from political influence, and we will not back down from defending democracy.
That's rich coming from a corrupt attorney general who has bent over backwards to protect Democrats and go after Republicans. This guy is a joke. I guess he doesn't understand the process of Congress having oversight over the Justice Department, the Department of Justice, rather.
Well, you heard him say it right there. You know, we won't be intimidated. It's like, that's like, you know, your boss is giving you a reprimand. So you say, I won't be intimidated by you. It's like, well, their intention isn't to intimidate you. It's to force you to comply with the legal obligations that you have. Like, he's acting like he's playing the political game against an opponent when, you know, you can't have it both ways. Either you're playing a game against a political opponent, the House Republicans, or you're politically impartial. You can't do both again. But this is the Biden administration. They always want to have their cake and eat it too. And he wants to pretend to be strong while not really engaging in a conflict. And the last thing I'd say about this is that he acts as though complying with the House of Representatives completely reasonable demands for certain evidences will jeopardize. Yeah,
they issued
exactly.
subpoenas.
He has to follow. It doesn't matter if he thinks that it'll jeopardize future investigations. First of all, innovate, do things differently than, you know, the way you got the evidence that you're presenting. This would be like saying, well, we can't present any evidence in court ever because it might jeopardize future investigations. It's absurd. It sounds really strong and nice, but in reality, it's weak as a cracker. This is so easily see-throughable.
Yeah, and the part that gets me is where he says that the justice that he's going to fight to maintain the independence of the Department of Justice.
But he's not political.
No, he's not political at all. Especially when it comes to going after Trump and colluding with other state attorneys, generals, and prosecutors. You know, he can deny it all he wants, but they've been right in the middle of all of these Trump prosecutions. So,
oh yeah,
you know, maintain independence, my foot. He's corrupt. He should be. I wish they could just walk up to him, tell him to put his hands behind his back and handcuff him
right there.
Perp walk him right out of the damn room, man. This guy disgusts me, man.
If he thought that was possible, he wouldn't even be doing this. People like that have no courage. They have no decorum in that sense. You know, I think he's almost playing for the camera almost. If he wasn't so politically involved, I'd say that would be the case. But I genuinely think his true motivation is doing what the big guy tells him to do. I think that's all they're doing.
For the purposes of decorum, the House Judiciary Committee chairman won't do it, but he does have the power. He could direct law enforcement in that room at that moment, say,
oh, yeah,
you're under arrest, and he could arrest him and put him in behind bars until he complies. Now, the thing that chaps me about these contempt charges is Steve Bannon now headed to prison. Peter Navarro is already in prison, and a couple of other Trump administration officials who refused to comply with congressional subpoenas were held in contempt of court and jailed. Yeah. But this guy can stand up there and run his mouth and not be jailed.
Well, he's more important than they are, and that's the problem with America today. Is there are people that are more important than other people. And
he's not.
No, he's not. But I mean, to the Biden administration, he is not. Yeah. Not in the eyes of God, not in the eyes of the people of America. But Hugo, that is what these people really. That's what these people believe, is that there are some people that are somebodies and some people that are nobodies. And if you're a nobody, you have to face justice, you have to face the law. But if you're someone to the Bidens, then you don't have to face that, and
Exactly.
we'll be seeing more of that. But maybe some other people will hold Biden accountable for something, but maybe not in a good way.
The only part
That's our
that I
next
love,
topic.
the only part that I love about all of this is that the American people get to see firsthand how there's a two-tiered justice system.
Yep.
And that if you're related to Trump or if you're Trump, you have one set of rules. If you're tied to Biden or the Democrats, you have another set of rules. And that's what I want the people to see.
No, I think they do, because this is everywhere. This isn't just, the fish is rots from the head down. This is all throughout our society right now. And it's because our leaders are setting such a bad example. I mean, this is one of the most immoral times in our history because we've got such an immoral president. Even if he's not openly corrupt, he's got a lot of problems, especially with moral virtues. And we see that with his family. We'll talk about a little bit about that later, but I just don't think apples fall from trees.
Peter, let's play the video with Laura Ingraham. The next segment over. That one is talking about this case as well. She's talking about how Garland says attacking the DOJ is dangerous. You got that one ready, Peter?
Dangerous for who, I wonder?
There we go. Let's go with that.
Chris, let's talk about the attack on the Supreme Court. At the same time, Merrick Garland is saying, stop being mean to me and trying to delegitimize this institution of justice.
Laura, it's incredible how he's trying to blur the lines between legitimate criticism of the Department of Justice and threats and unacceptable forms of coercion. He's trying to make it seem like the Department of Justice is immune and impervious to criticism. I mean, this is the most politicized Department of Justice in United States history. I mean, this is the first time in history the Department of Justice is indicting the president's primary political opponent. The double standard has never been more brazen between whom they're prosecuting and what they're prosecuting for, and what they're not prosecuting, and the fact that they're not even putting a fig leaf in an attempt to enforce fundamental laws like our border.
Oh no! Look what they've done.
We can skip it. We've never seen anything like this before in American history. So for him to say that it's beyond the pale to criticize the Department of Justice is astonishing.
Oh, because Hunter is convicted on an obvious gun charge and 3 different charges, obvious, open and shut case. Everything that we say about what they're doing to Trump is invalid. It's all good now. We're all good. That's kind of what they're doing, Chris.
Well, and again, the crazy thing about Hunter is, what about all the stuff that isn't charged here? I mean, the gun is only the tip of an iceberg of allegations, and much more serious crimes and crimes that directly implicate potential crimes that directly implicate the president, which the gun crime obviously does not.
Right. So, easy peasy. Chris, I want to move on to what the Supreme Court justices are facing now from the left. Again, the same people who say the Republicans are attacking fundamental norms and institutions have no problem with these activists going in and taping Supreme Court justices. Now, I don't think anything Alito said was remotely problematic. Your reaction tonight?
No, totally agreed. I mean, imagine what these people are doing. They are tasked with as Justice Alito said, with a very defined task of interpreting and applying the law. And then, this activist says, well, they need political accountability, as if they are politicians. That's the whole point. They're judges. They just read the laws and interpret them. But, again, this person clearly in your tape was asking questions under false pretenses, trying to egg on the justice. And he had a very, I think, appropriate response. But basically, the gloves are off for these people. No blow is too low. And then they claim that everything else is a danger to democracy. I mean, I think it's a danger to democracy when they're failing to enforce the law, when they're brazenly, one-sided in their application of the law, and when they're trying to imprison the president's chief political rival. How is that not a danger to democracy, Laura?
No, it's a danger to democracy when Trump wins. Chris, that's the irony of all of this.
Right.
Chris, always great to see you.
Democratic process.
Right, that's the threat.
Is the threat to democracy.
Yeah, that's the threat to democracy. Chris, thank you so much.
All right. Well, there you have it. She pretty much said what I was saying.
Completely, especially about Trump appointees being targeted no matter what. I mean, the Supreme Court's being targeted because they're Trump appointed. The AG is not. I mean, what other evidence do you need?
Well, he's still butthurt over McConnell's blocking him from the Supreme Court, and thank God for that.
Yeah, really.
Can you imagine that clown on the Supreme Court? Oh my God.
That's why I don't ever dig on Mitch McConnell too much, because like he gave us that, like, however other things, whatever, he gave us that. Like he gave us this help with the Supreme Court, and that was key to everything. Like people have to understand how much worse we'd be off without Trump appointments to the Supreme Court.
Yeah. Well, there you have it. That's the inimitable Attorney General who was rejected for the Supreme Court, and he's fighting back. All right, let's move over to this story about the ACLU suing the Biden administration in opposition to his recent executive order that was going to clean up the border. It says that the U.S. civil rights group sued the Biden administration over a new policy that bars most migrants crossing the U.S.-Mexico border illegally from claiming asylum, threatening to derail the far-reaching enforcement effort. Now, think about this for a minute. If you want to just extrapolate this story, do you think that the ACLU and the Biden administration are in cahoots here? It sounds to me like it could have been that Biden said, okay, ACLU, I'm going to issue this executive order to block these people from coming in claiming asylum on this side of the border. But as soon as I do that, you file a lawsuit so that it'll block my executive order, and I can just say it wasn't me.
Oh, well, that's the key to everything. If it is that, then the institutions of the left are really more under Biden's thumb than we realize. If it's not that, and this is division between the Biden administration, because the one thing about this is if Biden softens up on immigration, he's really going to lose a lot of support with moderates, because we all agree, left or right, immigration is one of the biggest issues in this election.
Oh, it's the biggest issue.
It's the biggest issue, exactly. So I think that, Biden wanted to get some poll numbers up with this executive order. So I'm not sure if this ACLU lawsuit helps him, if it's forcing him to recant on it.
It's not going to work.
It's not going to work, first of all. But the ultimate conclusion from this, honestly, is that Democrats with good policy still can't be trusted to enact it, because the voter base or their actual controllers will stop them. So if you want Republican policy, you can't expect Democrats to deliver that. That's the lesson here, is you can't expect Democrat pretty much ever again to deliver on good border policy, because something like this will happen and eventually it'll be successful, or their voter base will vote them out for it. If you want Republican results, you need Republicans. That's the big lesson from this with this ACLU nonsense.
Exactly. Let's play that video, Peter, of the Fox 32. No,
or
not
illegal
that one.
border cross.
Not that one. Scroll down.
It's 26.
You're too far down. It's right after the. You're not seeing the one with the Mexico working to quell hectic border?
That one's not on here, no.
It's not on there? Okay.
No, not on that page. That's okay.
All right. Well, anyway, so what they're basically saying is that the executive order doesn't follow proper regulatory procedure. I'll tell you what doesn't follow regulatory procedure, and that is allowing people to cross the border and then claim asylum.
Yeah, illegal immigrants don't exactly adhere to policy of any kind when crossing the border.
Right. Basically, migrants caught crossing illegally could be quickly deported or returned back to Mexico under the Biden measure. Well, it isn't the Biden measure. That's U.S. law.
Yeah.
That is U.S. immigration law as properly implemented by the Trump administration.
I mean, let's be honest. This government is powerful, too powerful as it is. It could easily stop this problem. It doesn't want to. And the ACLU is proving, no, we don't want it to. It's like, you know, I never had anybody like the ACLU come out and actually give an explanation. Why? Why do you want an open border? What benefits does it gain the country? Because all I see benefiting is Democrat Party bosses and big Democrat-aligned corporations that abuse migrant labor. Those are the only two groups I see benefiting from this.
Yep.
ACL, yeah, American Civil Liberties. Who's Civil Liberties? Isn't it kind of funny, Hugo? The American Civil Liberties Union, or whatever it is fighting for the rights of non-Americans exclusively.
Yeah. Should be the non-American Civil Liberties.
Non-American Civil Liberties. Yeah, there we go. The Non-American Civil Liberties Union. That's your name now, guys. It's official. You don't get to say no to that. I'm sorry. That name's too perfect.
So basically, the ban included exceptions for unaccompanied children, people who face serious medical or safety threats, and victims of trafficking. Okay, well, that pretty much covers the whole shebang.
Yeah, everybody else should be fine. Like, as everybody else, why are you here?
Oh my God! So all I can say is I can't wait for re-election of President Trump, because this insanity is going to end on day one.
There you go.
And they know it. That's why they're trying to get as many of them in here as possible. And then they cry foul because Trump has announced he's going to just round them up and deport them. And that's exactly what he should do.
Just end the suffering, honestly, for everyone involved. Because imagine the anxiety these migrants have. You know what I mean? Just make the decision for them. All right, it's time to go home. Things are relatively safe in most countries these days. That's what it is.
Yep. Let's roll over to this very interesting story taking place down in the Caribbean. Russian warships coming to Cuba to perform war games. So we have this international headlines. Peter, I don't think we're on the same page, buddy. You're not on the links that I sent you.
That's okay.
This is the one on Russian Pentagon downplays
international headlines. Yep, we could do this.
No, this is Hezbollah attack.
No, he's got it. He's got it. It's okay, Peter. Go ahead.
Hang on. This is the Russian War Games one.
Yeah, it is.
That's not the link I sent you.
It's all right. Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, there it is. Go ahead.
Oh no, yeah, it is.
Why is it playing the Hezbollah attacks?
I think this is actually ABC News. What they do is they change the videos to relevant things. So it's it's basically the news controlling the news. Oh, it's at the end there. There we go.
Hang on, let me go back a little bit.
Yeah, you're good. A little bit further.
Represent the region.
You got any sound?
You got it. Yeah. That's okay.
That's not the story.
It'll go to the story in just a second. Here we are. Frigate and a submarine.
Hang on.
Okay.
They say, oh, it won't be a threat to the region, says the Cuban government.
Go ahead and stop that right now. Okay, so the Pentagon is basically downplaying Wednesday's arrival of 4 Russian Navy ships in Cuba, as U.S. officials acknowledge that U.S. Navy ships cut the video.
You got it.
Actively monitored the Russian ships as they made their way to a port of call in Havana. At the on-camera Pentagon press conference, spokesperson Sabrina Singh downplayed the Russian naval flotilla's arrival in Havana, noting that it's happened multiple times over the years, but acknowledged that U.S. military assets had been tracking the ships on their way to Cuba. We've been tracking the Russian plans for this, she said, and the Pentagon's deputy press secretary told reporters Wednesday. So the Russian ships' transit towards Cuba was monitored by 6 warships from the U.S., Canada, and France. They included the U.S. Navy destroyers USS Donald Cook, USS Delbert Black, USS Truxtun, U.S. Coast Guard cutter Stone, the Canadian frigate HMCS Ville de Quebec, and a French Lafayette-class frigate. So this is not a surprise because we've seen them do this type of protocols before, and these are routine naval visits that we've seen under different administrations.
Which different administrations? Hasn't Putin been president over there for like 20 years?
Yeah, Obama.
I think he's talking about U.S.
Oh, our administrations?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So,
right. It's funny we have to make that distinction, though. It really shows you who's the dictatorship.
yeah, the thing that bugs me is, the timing. We've got all this geopolitical stuff going on, and now they're deciding they're going to do some war exercises in our hemisphere. Why can't they do their exercises in their own hemisphere?
Right, and I have a lot of appreciation for this because I love naval matters and I love geopolitics. What this is mostly is a political show because the fleet that we have, or the flotilla that we have monitoring them, it's bigger than their fleet. And they didn't say the other ships. One of those ships that's with that Russian fleet is a tugboat. For inevitably when one of these ships that the Russians send in break down. Actually, this is actually something not mentioned in the report. Recently, the Russians are no longer an aircraft carrier nation. Their aircraft carrier, the Admiral Kuznetsov, actually caught fire during maintenance of its own and is no longer operable. It's a very old craft. So the Russian Navy is honestly one of the most pathetic military forces in the major countries that we have, honestly. In the world. It's really, really pathetic. The Ukrainian Navy actually doesn't exist. It scuttled its ships when the Russians invaded. And so now they use naval drones. And these naval drones have kicked the Russians out of the Black Sea, as well as using our Neptune missiles and other such things. The Russian Navy lost to a country that has no navy. So we have no military threat. I want to be clear. No military threat from the Russian Navy. That is not the purpose of these actions. The purpose of these actions is to intimidate us and to get Hispanic countries on the side of the Russians. And Hispanic patriots everywhere, we really got to be making sure that our people back home don't fall for the Russian propaganda, because a lot of what Russia's thinking about now in terms of its strategy is to say, forget about America. We'll never be able to propagandize them to death, but they might be able to switch enough of our allies in South and Central America to be able to get us afraid of them. We can't let that happen. Hispanic countries should be free of foreign influence, just like America should be free of foreign influence, and we should protect each other. If every American country from Canada to Argentina banded together, this continent would be a fortress that all of us could live in forever. Honestly, we need to remember that. Is America as the head of the Americas, the great protector of the seas and the air, this needs to be maintained. It's not hurting Hispanic American sovereignty to have America as an ally. It's its greatest asset. So Hispanic patriots back home, make sure everybody is not falling for propaganda, whether it's Russia, China, a Democrat, anybody. Always listen to only the truth.
So listen to what the Cuba's defense ministry said. It says they described the visit as keeping with the historical friendly ties between Cuba and the Russian Federation.
Yeah, from communist era times.
And is fully consistent with international rules.
It sure can be, but you shouldn't be.
It says none of the ships carry nuclear weapons, wink,
Yes.
wink, due to which our country does not pose any threat to the region. Although they have already previously been known to say that they would love to attack the U.S.
Well, during the Cuban Missile Crisis, they also claimed that they didn't show any, they didn't provide any nuclear missiles. So the Russians can't be trusted, or the Russian government cannot be trusted.
No.
Certainly not the Cuban government. These are people who throw their own people in concentration camps, who draft them to go fight in a suicidal war. These are countries that have a mentality totally different than our own. We can't expect them to think like us. These people respect only strength, and we all have to pray for the fall of communism in Cuba. We have to pray for the fall of communism in Cuba, because without that island fortress, China and Russia have nothing that they can use against us. So pray for the Cuban people that they can get this communist beast off of their lands.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. They don't have anything.
It's going to be tough. No, it's going to be tough. But
they only have rocks and sticks.
That's why they got to have God. That's the only thing. That's what did it in Poland. That's what did it in
But
Eastern Europe.
Get this. Guess where the next stop is for this Russian flotilla?
Oh, I wonder where.
Venezuela.
Venezuela.
Yeah.
And we got to worry about Nicaragua, too. The Russians want to build a military base in Nicaragua. This is the thing. Foreign countries have no right to be in the United States of America. They certainly don't have a right to be in the Western Hemisphere. They need to get out. What do we need them for here?
Well, I guarantee you, the minute Trump takes office, he's going to tell Putin,
get your ships out of here.
Yep.
I think these people respect only strength. Biden is not strong at all. And actually, real quick, Putin actually came out very recently and said that he would much rather have Biden as a president. And the reason he goes, Biden is an old school politician who I can predict very easily. That's a quote from Putin. He's Biden is a predictable president of a traditional school that I can predict very easily. He is terrified of a Trump presidency. So anyone on the left, if you're worried about Putin, vote for Trump. Anyone on the right, if you're worried for Putin, vote for Trump. Putin just said, this is the guy I don't want to play against.
Yeah.
I don't know what else you need. What other evidence you need?
Yep. All right. Let's talk a little bit about the riff, basically, which is Mr. Trump goes to Washington. Larry Kudlow had some interesting comments about what this opportunity represents for the GOP. And let's listen a little bit to Larry Kudlow and get his take, and then we can talk about what he's saying.
Riff. Republican standard bearer Donald Trump goes to Washington tomorrow to meet with the House and Senate Republican conferences. He will also meet with the Business Roundtable CEOs. Now, here's a thought from Mr. Trump. Success is the best revenge, and a strong economy would lower energy costs. Supply-side tax cuts and rolling back Biden regulations should all produce a healthy and prosperous economy with opportunities for all working folks of all colors and all religions. In other words, unity. Just a thought. But I have a sense that Mr. Trump is going to go there. Now, don't look for detailed blueprints. Look for big picture themes like we can't have a country with an open border, or we should be putting our foot down and enforcing sanctions against Iran, or we should be giving Israel our wholehearted support to clean out Hamas as fast as possible, or we can't let countries like China take advantage of the United States with unfair trading practices that decimate our middle class, especially our middle class working folks in the industrial states. Or the New York Times writes this long piece how Trump policies are going to cause higher inflation. Sure they will. Wait a minute. These are basically the same policies he had in his first term when there was virtually no inflation. So how can the same policies in the second term cause higher inflation? Only the newsroom of the New York Times can tell us about that one. Dumb, very dumb. The Republican Party has an opportunity to change the direction of this great country of ours. You know, folks don't want big government socialism. Folks don't want huge tax hikes. Folks don't want rapidly rising prices. Folks don't want electric vehicles jammed down their throats. Folks don't want Venezuelan crime gangs coming across the border illegally and flooding our cities. Folks don't want ESG or DEI. Folks don't want America embarrassed overseas in places like Afghanistan. Folks do want a chance to be law-abiding citizens with strong family units, the right to worship on the weekends without being harassed, the right to have their kids educated properly in school rather than all this woke insanity. Folks want traditional values, and they want a rising economic tide that lifts all boats, that provides new opportunities to climb the ladder of success. And oh yes, a lot of folks working in the gig economy would love to have tax-free tips from their grateful customers. Look for Mr. Trump to make a lot of these points when he visits his Republican Party brethren on Capitol Hill tomorrow. Know what, folks? Success breeds unity. Now, that's a fine message.
Couldn't agree more. Success breeds unity. It does.
Yep, and and prosperity also, and the government getting the heck out of the way of small business and citizens. I think the Trump announcement for untaxed tips is brilliant. It's a brilliant counter to Biden's student loan debt forgiveness.
It's helping the people that are actually working right now.
Exactly.
And a lot of them are young people. And as a young person, I have to say, what he said is folks want traditional values. That is true of both the left and the right of Gen Z, of millennials, of most people in that youth group. Whether it's sort of the reminiscence of the hippie times, or whether it's social activism, whether it's on the right, traditional values is an entire subgroup online. Traditionalists, traditional Catholics have become a huge force in the Catholic Church recently and in the past decades. We see this all over the place, left and right, religious and not, secular. Whatever people are, they are actually looking for a return to traditional values. And it's because we recognize that we have lost something in the change to modernity. And that loss has left us completely incapable of successfully living in the world. We were raised to be successful in a world that they took away. And we are slowly building it back, which should mean that it'll be more permanent. So I love what he said, honestly. This is something that everybody can get involved in. And like he said, success breeds unity. This Trump, I think, mark my words here. If Trump wins in 2024, in this year, we will see a huge unity of left and right. We will see people on the left and right voting for Trump. That's what I believe, because you see things like this with the tip culture. Trump knows what people who can vote for him, who will vote for him, want, without upsetting the Republicans. So he struck a great middle line, and I can't wait to see how successful it'll be.
One small correction.
Please.
When, not if.
There you go. Love it, Hugo. I always love your positivity. See, that's what it is. The boomer has the positivity, the millennial has the negativity, and together we make a good charge.
I pride myself in being an eternal optimist. I always look for the good side of the picture, although sometimes it's very difficult with the things that are going on. But
absolutely so.
I have a good feeling about this election, and I harken back to 2016 when I had the same feeling, and people were laughing at me.
I just want to set the record straight for everybody. Hugo, he's like a M&M on a summer day. He's got that hard candy shell. Takes a little bit to crack into, but then once you do, you got that warm, sweet, gooey center. That's Hugo.
There you go. He's the best kind of boomer ever. Absolutely. But Hugo, I would love to hear your thoughts on it. What do you think about the return to traditional values that you're seeing in society? It's all over the place. Did you ever think this would happen?
I think that I subscribe to the pendulum theory. And, we have swung so far to the left in this country, thanks to Biden and his cronies, that it's just inevitable that the pendulum is now going to swing in the other direction. And that's the good thing about America. We can survive a lot of things. Sometimes we can't survive some things, but I do believe that we're on the trend, and that all demographics are coming on board after seeing exactly what Mr. Biden and his crooks have delivered in the last 3.5 years. I mean, you have to be blind to not see it, or just ideologically entrenched. And those people are going to be in the minority this time around, because they have their own set of problems in their party. The extreme left is the one calling the shots over there and trying to take control, and Biden's trying to play the moderate game, but it's not going to fly, because they've got their finger on the trigger over there in that party.
Like we saw with the ACLU.
Yeah, it's not. Look, the Democrat Party is not what it once was. I mean, anybody that can't see that is just, fooling themselves. But and that's why you seeing people jump over. I keep seeing more Latinos. I keep seeing more Black people. Latest numbers that I'm hearing now is that Trump is about to cross the 50% threshold with Latinos, which is huge.
That's huge. Yeah, that's great.
And in the Black community, he is approaching 35%, which is the death knell to the Democrat Party. So that's why they're scrambling. That's why they're so desperate. That's why they keep throwing stuff against him, and they keep trying to find ways to derail him. But deep down, I think they know. And now, there's rumblings going on about whether Biden's going to be the guy. Personally, I'm sticking to my prediction that they can't. Not only they can't, but they won't replace him, because Biden's too stubborn. So short of wheeling him out on a gurney, they're not going to get Biden to go back. And then there was a story I read that made a lot of sense to me, and it said that behind the scenes it's Dr. Jill Biden, the one that is the driving force. They won't let him quit.
It's the Biden administration. This is Obama. This started back in 2008.
Yeah, they got too much investment into Joe Biden to not trot him out, honestly, and he wouldn't say no even if they tried not to.
He's their perfect
Yeah, they
puppet.
love having him. Putin loves having him. Xi loves having him. The Democrat institutions love having them. The international finance loves having. Everybody loves Biden except the people. The majority of human beings on the planet. But
by the fruit you will know them. I mean, the thing is we keep this progressive agenda, the postmodern progressive agenda that kind of came up with Obama. I mean, we put in office, short of last election that was stolen, but with Obama and everything, it's the nation's. That was a true election. Obama was, of all things, as crooked and corrupt and all that, he was a phenomenal politician.
Yeah, he didn't have we were ready for something different.
He had the media captivated. He had the country captivated, but that was pulling on the heartstrings of what people wanted. We keep pushing. Right. It's like Disney. Disney keeps pushing the limits left. Well, look at the fruit. The stock is tanking. I mean, they're banking on one movie, this new Pixar Inside Out Part 2 to retake
a sequel
everything.
Or something,
Their most recent Star Wars stuff is more woke than ever before.
Look at a return of traditional values. I mean, everybody's buying.
People are pulling out. They're like,
exactly. People are buying
I
retro
can't take
consoles.
this
They're
anymore.
watching old movies. Nobody likes new stuff anymore. We can't do this. We can't just keep recycling the old stuff. That's what Larry was talking about. That's what the GOP is offering right now. Is saying, hey, we're the conservatives. We know how to deliver traditional values. You can't ask Democrats to do that. We need that pendulum swing back. So I'm asking, all my leftist friends to please vote for Trump. Please, down ballot. I understand there's differences in every state and everything like that. I'm not going to comment on races I don't know about. But if you want actual progress, real progress as a progressive, you're going to want to return to these traditional values. And, you know, Democrats won't provide it. So, you know, plug your nose if you have to, vote for Trump.
At the end of the day,
because he's the right candidate.
We want freedom. People need to be free to decide and choose how they want to live. And under the Republican Party stands for freedom, small government, power to the people. That's what we're all about. And my point is this whole Biden fiasco has been a blessing in disguise, because you get too much of the poison, a little bit of poison, you don't know you're getting poisoned. But then you get a big heaping dose of it and you realize, oh, this is killing me. That's exactly what these last 4 years have done. Americans are going, all this bullshit that we just kind of like swept off to the side 4 years ago and before, now we're seeing it in full force, and we don't want it. It's killing us.
Right.
So, I mean, it's a blessing in disguise. The beast has exposed itself. The devil has.
Hugo, you've seen it even longer than we have.
The Obama administration was what I call the Manchurian candidate. He played the race card like a fiddle against the American people. So he was basically saying, without saying it, if you don't vote for me, this will be proof that this is a racist country.
Yeah.
That was
gaslighting. Right. They're very good at gaslighting. Yep.
That was the
blackmail is what it is.
That was the unmitigated gall that, you know, basically got everybody on board, and that's why he was able to win. And people didn't want to be the one that said, well, I'm not voting for this guy. And then it's, oh, why? Because he's black.
We knew that back even, you know, right after Obama got elected, as everybody knew that was happening. I think, remember the popular TV show Boondocks actually made an episode where they were critiquing this exact thing. And as soon as everybody vote for him, oh, he's whatever, he's just who cares about him? Once he got in, that was the goal. You know, that was everything. And Trump did more for black constituents in America than Obama did, and I'm totally fine saying that because it's a fact.
Let's roll into this Nancy Pelosi story that really kind of blew up on the airwaves.
Yeah, this was dumb, and I'm okay saying that.
This is now the smoking gun that we've been looking for on the J6 event. So let's listen to Mark Levin here. He's always good to listen to. He knows how to put the
House Financial Services Committee member and a subcommittee chairman. Congressman Loudermilk, you put out an 81-page report, and you've made it abundantly clear, both on my radio show and elsewhere, that as you look into the conduct of this January 6th committee, you're finding things that are extraordinarily troubling to you and your other members. That is, among other things, the mass destruction of evidence, whether it's video, whether it's deposition, whether it's text, whether it's emails, the movement of certain information behind firewalls, encrypted, so you folks have been unable so far, even with forensic experts, to break through and get the information. Most of this occurred a week before the Republicans took over the House, so it was done in a very aggressive way and done in a purposeful way. But you've also found a number of substantive things involving whether or not President Trump did in fact offer the National Guard. Liz Cheney has been running around and said that's false. Liz Cheney keeps referring people to the report. Liz Cheney keeps doubling down.
Oh, they have to get us one more time. Be gone.
Also, you have information from a witness who did in fact testify, but was not included in the public pronouncements about January 6th, a deputy chief of staff to the president, and on and on and on, information about Cassidy Hutchinson. So let's begin. Number one, in terms of this committee destroying and hiding information, have you made any progress?
Well, we've made progress in actually getting access to some of the documents that they moved to the executive branch, in my opinion, which was to keep it from public view and keep it from us. 4 documents went to the White House. 8 documents went to the Department of Homeland Security. We were able to get the redacted copies of the testimonies of White House employees, which we included in our report. And through pressuring the White House, we're finally they never gave us unredacted copies, but they allowed us to come to the White House and review the unredacted copies. And after looking at it, we realized there's enough in that was remained unredacted in the copies they sent us that showed a different story than what the select committee was presenting. DHS, for months, they just went silent on us. Now they're telling us, oh, we still haven't finished our review of these documents. It's been well over a year. They're slow walking it. But we have at least now have Homeland Security is, as of last week, said, well, look, you can come look at these documents as well. But for some reason, they sent us the key document that we were looking for, which was the transcribed interview of the driver of the SUV that Trump was supposedly take the steering wheel from. So we did make some progress there. We're still trying to break passwords. But the biggest, I think, violation of public trust and House rules was the destruction or the hiding of the videotapes of all the depositions. Those, I think, are clearly, they admitted to getting rid of those. And so of everything that they've done, I think that is the biggest violation.
Well, when you hide evidence, it's because you're not guilty, right?
Well, you know Nancy when she talks, right? She was using both hands on that one, trying to backtrack what was clearly on video, her saying that she accepts full responsibility for not having the National Guard on hand. There was plenty of warning. Trump offered the National Guard ahead of time. So if Trump offered the National Guard ahead of time, then how in the hell is he guilty of insurrection? That would be the dumbest insurrectionist in the history of America or the world.
It would be. I mean, and we've had two insurrections, like actual insurrections in this country under George Washington. President George Washington led troops in person to crush one of them. And in that time, they did not arrest and prosecute anywhere near the amount of people that they're doing with this, and that means that Nancy Pelosi not only is taking responsibility for everything happening, but for all the suffering that was created by these witch hunts and these consequences. She's admitting, the gentleman that we interviewed, his family suffering is in part due to this woman who was elected, to serve the people, and this is, serving the people what? Misery.
Tom Hamner, you're talking about Tom Hamner.
Yeah. Because what he went through was completely unacceptable and wouldn't have happened if they had actually, done things right. They didn't want to do things right because they wanted people like Tom to, be scapegoated. I think if the National Guard was present, the Trump supporters would have, none of this would have happened because the Trump supporters in general, really support the military, really respect the military. And the National Guard would not have at all acted like the DC police. I know the National Guard wouldn't have shot and killed anybody. I mean, on that basis alone, they shot and killed somebody, and she's taking responsibility effectively for that.
Yeah,
and she needs to realize that the seriousness of what she did.
And it's a travesty that the guy that shot her never faced any charges.
No, even though he admitted it too. They interviewed him, on news and everything, and he openly and he acted like he was suffering. He took a life and he's suffering.
Maybe he is suffering from guilt.
That's
and
true.
Whatever.
Maybe I shouldn't judge him. Perhaps that's pretty fair.
But nevertheless, he should have been charged for what he did. He shot an unarmed person with absolutely no justification, and I've seen cops get prosecuted for far less.
We've seen it publicly. They've been, public lynchings effectively. We saw it with the George Floyd trial. We saw it with all these things.
Yeah.
So it's a terrible situation, but I'm glad that the truth is coming out, that it might actually exonerate the January 6th witch hunt victims.
That would be awesome. I know Trump has promised to clean that mess up right at
another reason we need to get him elected.
Exactly. Every one of those people that are, I shouldn't say everyone, but the overwhelming majority, he's promised to pardon and clear up their records because it's a witch hunt run by Liz Cheney and her cabal. So they all lied on that January 6th committee. And then to boot, they destroyed all the evidence at the end of their committee, which was totally illegal.
Yeah.
And I haven't heard anybody get charged for that. That those records were supposed to be maintained and archived, and they literally destroyed everything after they concluded their committee.
Yeah, Liz Cheney, how does it feel to sink to the level of Hillary Clinton? You know?
So, yeah, those two make a good pair.
That's why we always say we are not always just Democrats or Republicans. We are not just Republicans.
Is that what you mean by the right and the left coming together? Hillary
Absolutely, yeah, exactly. They're openly showing us that they have contempt for both of us.
We can reach across the aisle in peace. Let's be corrupt
hate
together.
You too. They hate me too. Let's vote for someone that doesn't hate us.
Yeah.
Say what? Because that's the thing. Ask any Democrat that. Do you think Trump hates America? They cannot say yes to that. Nobody could think that man hates America. You could think all kinds of things about him, but that man loves America.
Absolutely not. I mean, anybody with common sense knows that he gave up a lavish lifestyle to serve the people because he saw the country in peril and he wanted to do something about it. And he was in a position to do something about it. So he didn't need all this headache. He could have been playing golf every other day,
Right.
cruising around on his yacht and flying around the world on his jet.
Not be dragged into court, and also I think one reason for this, and Hugo, you're a family man yourself. We all love our families. I think we can agree with this. I think one of his big motivations was his family.
Exactly.
Eric and Trump Jr. and Barron, all of those guys, I think, are huge motivations to him because we know that the recently convicted Hunter Biden, that's not who Joe Biden is fighting for. If he did, I think he would help his son his only remaining son, if I'm not mistaken, clean up his act. Any father who would allow his son to go through that, I mean, either he's been through it before and he just thinks it's a phase just like he did. I'm not accusing the president of smoking crack, although his policies might prove might provide evidence, against that. But the apples never fall far from the tree. And as they say, the best measure of a man's character is his family. And I think that's one of the reasons that Donald Trump is still in this fight, is because he knows that his family is worth more, deserves an America that's worth more than this.
Who knows what Dr. Jill is putting in his tea?
Oh, gosh. Oh, no. It's just a cocktail of drugs, And I actually, I've noticed this, in my own time in politics. I won't mention any names, but alcohol and prescription medications are very much abused in these higher level areas, and we need clean people. If Trump, imagine if they actually made Congress take a drug test, that'd be kind of funny.
Well, getting to that point, that's what Trump said. He wants the drug test at the debate. He said
I love that.
He's willing to submit to the drug test, but
because he knows he's clean. He knows he's good. He's always lived a clean, kind of life. And that's another thing. A lot of Republicans these days, they live clean traditional lifestyles when it comes to food and medicine. But a lot of Democrats, they're, give me those drugs, So we really, we got to have do you want a society run by drug-fueled maniacs who hate you and want foreigners to replace you in the workforce and society everywhere else? Or do you want to vote for somebody who actually loves you for who your country's allegiance is, for who you are as a person, as an American? Which do you want? I know who I'd rather have.
Well, the Hunter Biden trial, they keep saying he's facing 25 years in prison for these charges. And what's interesting, though, is the tax charges in California. Now, if they go and prosecute that, which my understanding is that they are, if he's found guilty on that, that's going to increase the chances of him being sentenced to prison. But then Daddy's going to step in and commute the sentence. He said, I won't pardon him, but he didn't say I won't commute the sentence, which is basically giving him a free pass.
What a Bidenism.
Yeah. Yeah, they asked him on that interview, have you ruled out pardoning your son? He puts on a stern face. Yes.
Just say the word, Joe. Say the word. Just one word. All right, good. I did it. Well, kids, don't smoke crack and throw away guns you're not supposed to have.
And don't hang out with the Bidens.
No, and don't vote for Biden's. Because
Absolutely.
We don't need any more embarrassment, people. We really don't. We want to be a strong country that we could be proud of.
All right, we're weeks away from the RNC.
Yeah.
We're looking forward to that. Next week, we have a very special guest. We need to confirm him yet for sure, but you don't want to miss next week, because if he's coming on, then we're going to have a really strong show with regards to the Hispanic community and Hispanic businesses in general. So,
which we'll be working more with and visiting more often.
Exactly. So tune in.
Look out for that.
That's all the time we have for tonight. Thank you for tuning in to another edition of the Hispanic Patriot. We appreciate you following us, liking us, and subscribing on our YouTube channel. Go to our website if you're so inclined. Donations are happily accepted. It goes to a good cause. And if you like what you're hearing, and please write to us about topics that you want us to cover, because we want to hear from you. Eventually, we hope to turn this show into a live call-in show. So we're working towards that end, and we hope that you're enjoying what you're seeing so far.
Yeah, this is only the beginning, people. Bigger and better is on the way.
Yes, and thank you for tuning in tonight. God bless you, and God bless America.
God bless America, folks.